Hello and welcome to Founder Fridays. I'm Dr. Layla Haishaw. I'm a pediatric dentist and founder of Diversity in Dentistry Mentorships, a nonprofit with a mission to empower and educate underrepresented minority youth through mentorship. And we also provide a mentorship relationships for our pre-dental students as far as shadowing, helping them with the dental admission testing process, and just being the support and champion they need. In developing the nonprofit, it was a very daunting experience, and I was hoping through the series of Founder Fridays that the conversations that I have with social enterprise founders and founders of nonprofit, that they could provide inspiration and insight to help you on your journey in starting a nonprofit. And I am so thrilled and honored and excited to have my cousin come on today as our next guest on Founder Fridays. So yay, finally, I think we're going to be able to bring her on and I can introduce you. And our guest today is Jillian Haishaw. Yay! Third time's a charm. And for those who have come back, thank you. I don't know what's going on with the connectivity. But welcome. Thank you so much. Now we can like have fun and breathe.
Yes.
I was going to be so upset if I couldn't have you share your message and inspire just so many, because so many don't know, well, so many do know about it, but may not understand the importance of this conversation we're going to have. But let me backtrack. So yes, today's episode is a family affair. I always say that I am one of the luckiest girls because I'm married into a wonderful family. I love my mother and father-in-law. I have a wonderful brother-in-law and sister and nieces and nephews, but also reaching all the way from grandparents to cousins and second cousins. So you are family. And from Kansas City. And Jillian, you are doing just amazing things. It just fills me up with such pride. And I know I need to just get to it, right?
Oh, thank you so much. Same with you.
Oh, you're kind. You're kind. But usually I just do a brief little, intro bio, but what you've done is so extensive and so impactful that I just want to take a moment to just read a bit because it needs to be shared. So, Jillian Haishaw, and everyone should know that you are an attorney, you're an agricultural lawyer, and one of the few who has an LLM. And I have to be honest, even as a dentist, I had to look up what an LLM was. It's a very difficult process to get certified as a master's in the legal master's in law, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Well, that's really wonderful right there. So let's start off with that. But you're an innovative strategist, founder, and attorney in the areas of agriculture, food systems, and asset protection. And you're recently recognized by Cliff Bar Company as a food industry changer, one of only 3 Black women in the world with an LLM in agriculture law. You have over 15 years of local, state, federal fellowship, nonprofit experience, and you're highly sought out in the industry for speaking internationally, because I should tell you this, your nonprofit FARMS, which stands for Family Agricultural Resource Management Services, is international.
Yes.
And we'll talk about what it's doing. But also in last year, Food Tank ranked you, Jillian Haishaw, number 5 out of 14 women leaders in the world changing the food industry. I mean, that alone is just amazing. So, of course, you're a philanthropist and raised thousands of dollars for charitable food programs. You've been interviewed by NPR, the American Bar Association. You have publications in peer-reviewed journals and outlets as Civil East, Drake Journal of Agricultural Law, Journal of Food and Law. You've been on NPR, just goes on and on. And so with this, and also, and you have your bachelor's degree from Tuskegee University, and you are from Kansas City, Missouri, like me.
Of course.
Yeah. So FARMS, and I want you to go into a little bit more, but it is a nonprofit. You provide Well, two things too. And also, I didn't add in that bio that you recently released, you're an author as well as a speaker and founder, but you released your new book, Systemic Land Theft,
Yes.
which came out on the twins' birthday.
Oh,
Special
cool.
all around. But it's a history of U.S. tactics keeping tribal nations from reclaiming their land and the blacks landless.
Yeah.
And I've been reading it, and I have just been so. It's great for a history buff, of course, because you really
Yes.
document the historical background of how tribal lands have been lost, and blacks and black farmers have disproportionately owned farmland, right?
Yeah.
So, and then before that, you published Don't Bet Your Farm on Medicaid, which I learned a lot too, in that, a lot of elder farmers, specifically black farmers, are losing their lands through liens and, as they age. So you would be better to explain that. But let's talk about why this all started. And this has to do with our family. So please welcome and share.
Yes, yes. So thank you so much again for having me. And it's my grandpa, actually. So we owned land in Muskogee, Oklahoma,
Mhm.
and that's where our family comes from originally. And after my great grandfather died in a tractor accident, my grandpa and my great grandmother moved to Kansas City
Mhm.
to live with his oldest brother. And from there, my great grandmother hired a lawyer to pay the taxes on the land, but the lawyer was unfortunately stealing the money and not paying the taxes on the land. So a tax lien ensued, and the land was sold in a tax lien sale without notification to the family.
Oh,
So I definitely wanted to start a nonprofit providing honest legal services to particularly Black farmers of color. And yeah, so that's kind of how it came about.
yeah.
So
You're
yeah,
the lawyer that your grandmother was hoping that she was paying
yeah,
to
yeah,
protect
exactly,
the land.
exactly.
Right, right. And I mean, farms over, and this was founded 13 years ago. You've been
No, well, in 2013,
in
so
2013. Yeah,
seven years.
yeah,
Mhm.
7 years ago. And
It feels
already,
like 13 years ago.
I don't, I bet. And you've made such an impact as far as how many farmers you have helped. Over $150,000 has been paid out to farmers. And you also have a food bank component to it because you have different programs within it. And I was reading it was almost over 1 million pounds of food that you've
Yes,
donated. Wow. And how does that
yes.
work? You just have
Well,
great partnerships and support.
yes, I have partnerships with food banks and also church pantries, and then, of course, farmers. So
Mhm.
90% of our farmers and farm clients are produce farmers. And so we primarily only purchase produce, and then we buy what they would usually compost as waste because a lot of farmers will just plow over food.
Mhm.
I know that, at the beginning of the year during the pandemic, you saw farmers dumping milk and,
Yeah.
raking over potatoes, but that's quite normal,
Mhm.
unfortunately.
Mhm.
So we purchase the produce, that's what's called their number twos that they can't sell, that may be dented or, what have you.
Yeah.
And then that's all donated to a food bank, a homeless shelter. We've also donated to child and elder care centers and things like that. So,
Right. And when you're helping the farmers, they're coming to you for a multitude of reasons for support. A lot of times it's just not only with the legal guidance, but just to a relief fund in a sense, to keep
yeah,
their in their names and the family for the legacy.
exactly. We have three program areas. So it's the legal and technical services where we focus on elder care issues. So like with the Medicaid lien
Hmm.
issue, also prevention of farm foreclosure, civil rights matters regarding specifically USDA, tax lien, boundary line disputes. And then the second program is the food bank program. And then the third program, which originally was a book scholarship
Hmm.
for either a child or a grandchild of a Black farmer for the first 4 years, has now been converted to an emergency fund
Oh,
for
that's great.
farmers to provide relief, financial relief there. So,
Oh, I'm sure that has brought a lot of relief. And I think all these efforts too has helped you to also be recognized. I know you just received a Black Business Relief Fund from Shea Moisture. So
mhm.
I'm so happy that that can help those that money. Can you share with the grant what services you'll be using with those monies?
Yeah, so we received the money in May, and it's primarily been spent up over the summer. So
Hmm.
we purchased watermelons that from a farmer in Louisiana, and it was donated to homeless shelters in New Orleans. We also purchased nearly 5,000 pounds of produce from another farmer in Louisiana, and it was donated in a neighborhood in the Ninth Ward in Louisiana. Well, in New Orleans, I'm sorry.
Hmm.
And then we've purchased, I think, more watermelons and cabbage in Georgia. And that was donated to the feed center in Fort Valley, Georgia. So, yeah, it's definitely been plentiful.
Yeah.
And it mostly went to purchase produce for the food bank program.
I see, yeah. And in the Don't Bet the Fart on Medicaid, I didn't really understand until you explained it how these Medicaid liens are can when an elder is going through assisted care living and a debt is owed that they can put a lien on their farm and lose it.
Yes, and it's on unfortunately, any real estate asset that
Mhm.
you may have. So oftentimes it's more so the house and the land.
Mhm.
People own more houses. But yeah, when you qualify for Medicaid, that opens up all of your real estate assets to a lien.
Mhm.
So, say for example, you're living in a long-term care facility and your house is still in your name along with your wife. Well, they can put a lien on the house. And it depends on if there's two types of states. There's a post-death and a pre-death state. And so if you're in a pre-death state, they can put a lien on the house while you're still living in the nursing home.
Oh,
But in a post-death state, they'll wait at least until you passed away, but then they'll put a lien on the house. And they will sometimes give a kind of a relay and wait until the wife dies if the home is in her name, and
mhm.
then they'll force the sale and to cover the past due debt that's owed to the nursing home.
Oh gosh, that's terrible. Well, and with all the farmland, let's talk about how the disproportionate acreage of land is owned by Black farmers versus white farmers. Can you give us this statistic, the staggering statistic?
Oh, sure. So 97% of U.S. farmland is owned by whites, and then less than 1% is owned by Black landowners.
Yeah,
And
and
so
it didn't
it's
used to be that, right? The number has
no.
increased.
No, it didn't. In the early 1900s, we owned upwards to 16 million acres, but now, according to the 2017 USDA census, we own about 4.5 million, and then Asian Americans own about 2.4. Our Latinx landowners own about 32 million, and then Native or Indigenous landowners own about 58 to 57 million acres.
And that loss is not necessarily, well, a part of it is just the interest in agriculture, but more so the systems that were put in place to maybe not help Black farmers flourish.
Yeah, I mean, so it definitely indigenous and Black communities,
Hmm.
but just people, communities of color in general.
Yeah.
So before European settlement, we didn't have demarcations, no state boundaries. It was just, free. The land was just, boundless, and we didn't have any type of legal system or illegalities or laws, basically.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so during European settlement, we adopted, English common law that was native to Europe. And so with those laws, we also adopted their property laws, which require, some type of statehood, and also the incorporation of towns and counties and municipalities. And so with that, it came also personal property rights. And so in order to, say that you're a landowner, you have to have a title and a deed, and you have to, claim that. And so that was basically during the land allotment period of the mid 1860s. And
Mhm.
so they basically, gave out, quote, free land to European immigrants. And so that definitely gave more immigrants incentives to come to the United States. And so a lot of that land was claimed by Europeans, and a lot of that land allotment was in the Midwest. So in Kansas, Iowa, Nebraska, Oklahoma, and Texas, and all of that. And so because of that, previously that was land owned by tribal nations. But
Okay.
unfortunately, all of that land was lost.
The Lamb's Lost, yeah. And you really do give a historical background about that and the five tribal nations and then also the Pickford versus Glickman class
Yes.
action lawsuit against USDA. I was just surprised here in chapter 8 just to learn that there was to be so much money delivered to the claimants, but in a sense, it was like less than 1/20th of 1% total amount was given that was set aside for the claims because of so many things they had to prove. They had proved discrimination to an adjudicator. Um, so many were forgiven. Most settlements terms were not honored. Um, and that was just not that long ago, right?
It wasn't. Yeah, Pickford continues to go on and on. It was originally filed in 1997 by a collective group of Black farmers, but because of everything, the Clinton administration settled for 2 billion. And
Mhm.
so it was divided up into two different classes. It was Pickford 1 and Pickford 2.
Mhm.
And so most of the people did get settlement checks of $50,000. You had track A, which I think was like 200,000, and then track B was 50,000. And
Mhm.
so most did get the $50,000 check because you really didn't have a certain standard of proof. It
Mhm.
was very low, but
Mhm.
that was shared amongst like 20 different relatives. And so it was supposed to compensate for land loss, but it
Mhm.
really, you know, realistically, it did not.
Yeah.
And so the land was lost due to predatory lending practices by USDA. And unfortunately, those issues are still going on. It was supposed to be debt relief in the settlement agreement, but that debt relief has not taken place. It only happened, I think, with one or two farmers. And so that debts from the 70s and 60s are still hanging over some of my clients' heads that are 80 or 90 years old.
Oh, wow. Oh, gosh. That's just so disheartening because the land, and I wanted to kind of have this conversation too, to shift over to just the importance of land ownership and the legacy you can leave for generations for years to come with your family. Um, and I don't think a lot of, well, and then also to protect that legacy too. I know a lot of your farmers maybe will present not with no estate planning, wills in place, and they're just, and then it's just gone. And there's so much too also that I learned from you about not only just the land itself and how you can, you're never broke if you own land, you can
Mhm.
lease land out, finding out about the mineral content in land, finding
Right.
valuable elements in the soil and how you can generate wealth from that. So yeah, let's talk about land ownership and the protection of that asset.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely very important because particularly in the Black community, we lose 30,000 acres in land ownership. And so that's why the nonprofit's website is 30,000acres.org. And it's so important to own land because you not only own the land, but you own the mineral rights. And
Mhm.
so, when you purchase a land tract or a farm, definitely make sure that you read the fine print and you do a title search and make sure that the mineral rights was not sold, because sometimes you'll be buying the land, but you won't be buying the land plus the mineral rights because
Oh
the
no.
previous, yep, the previous landowner. And so that's what happened, like in our family's case with our land in Oklahoma. An elder told me that where my grandpa's house used to be, there's now an oil pump going up and down because the land had no oil deposits. And so oftentimes the landowner will sell the land without the mineral rights, and that the money is in the mineral rights really.
Mhm.
And so definitely, just make sure that you're buying everything. And then
Yes.
also make sure that you're buying the airspace above. And so when you own the land, you also own the airspace above you. And so
Really, I did
making
not know
sure,
that.
yeah,
Did not.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
no, a lot of people don't know that. Wow,
yeah,
really?
yeah,
So this is why it's so important to consult with an attorney before
yes,
any purchase, right? Yeah.
yes, it's
And that's
very
the
important.
services you provide in your law firm, because I know you have the nonprofit, but you also have your law firm. Um, is it in certain states that you're licensed in, or could anyone consult with you across the nation?
Yes, I am licensed in Wyoming, so I have a small practice in Cheyenne, but I also do a lot of consulting work with different farming organizations, farm co-ops, and just individual farm families. And
Mhm.
they reach out and I provide them just individual consulting services as well. So, yep.
Wow. Well, on a personal note, growing up, did you know you were going to make such social change? Did you always have that kind of in your heart?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I can tell.
Yes, I definitely knew that I wanted to do public service. And so the
Mhm.
only reason why I went to law school was to focus on environmental and ag law. So yeah, yeah,
Oh,
birthday.
that's wonderful. And the journey to everything. So, you had and your degree was in biology from
Hmm.
Tuskegee. So you were still knowing you were going to do law school, but you wanted to have that background, or did you change course?
I did change course. I wanted to go to medical school,
Hmm.
but I had a rotation, an internship at UMKC Medical School.
Uh-huh.
And a guy came in with a screwdriver shoved in his ear from a bar fight in the
Oh,
ER. I was like, oh God, this is not for me. So
yeah. Well,
I
me
just
too.
changed.
Yeah.
I
I was
just
going to do
changed
medicine
my mind.
and dentistry.
Yeah, like
Right.
no.
We want to help others, but there's
Yeah,
a much better schedule and not seeing screwdrivers coming out of someone's. I've seen in dentistry, well, through an oral surgeon, an X-ray of like a screwdriver coming out of the eye socket in the
really?
radiograph. See the screwdriver.
Oh my
I
God,
hate
man.
pediatric dentistry, although there's a lot of trauma, I should say as well, but nothing
Yeah.
crazy.
So, but I love biology and science. So I was like, oh well, I'll just do field research. But I was like, well, let me just do more environmental
In your
policy
environment. So,
and
yeah,
ag
yeah.
law. So yeah. So yep.
Now, for those who are, well, two things. You've done so many. You're, of course, start the nonprofit. So I wanted you to share a little bit with those who may be looking to start a nonprofit. What were some of the hiccups along the way, or challenges, or things you wish you knew then that you know now?
Yeah, definitely question your sanity in starting a nonprofit. It's it's just so much. But one thing is to make sure that you are, if you're a founder, make sure that you are a member of your board as a member at large. And so your voting rights are limited when it comes to like things related to you as the
Mhm.
director, but it's important to stay on your board. Make sure that you don't make your board too large. I would go max between 5 to 7 members, and
Okay.
then also consult your state nonprofit laws because certain states require a minimum number. And
Mhm.
then certain states will not allow the ED to be the treasurer, then other states will. So
Oh,
that's
okay.
something to also consider. And
Mhm.
then definitely make sure that if you want to qualify for large grants, that you always file a 990 EZ instead of the 990 postcard, because the EZ will give you the 990 audited statement that most foundations and funders look for, compared to the postcard, which is just like a one line thing.
But with
And
the
so
EZ, you can't raise more than $25,000, right? Or something like
no, so that
that.
is, so when you're
See, I'm a
incorporating,
newbie. I'm listening really. I'm taking notes.
yeah, so when you're incorporating, make sure that the type of 1023 form that you fill out. So if it's the short form, then you're restricted to the amount of money that you can
Okay.
raise the first
I
3 years.
yes. Okay, right.
But I always advise people to do the long form, which I did, and that's more money, but it's a little, less than $1,000. When I did mine, I think it was 850,
Mhm.
and it takes a few months to get approved by the IRS, but it
Mhm.
gives you unlimited amounts that you can raise instantly
Okay.
through your nonprofit, and there's definitely less restrictions, but on the front end, it's just a little bit more paperwork.
I see. Oh, well, thank you for sharing those pearls.
Sure, sure.
And
Sure,
what
sure.
about writing, becoming an author? Well, I know the systemic land theft started out as a white paper, and you've been working on that for several years, but the road to authorship, like when did you start and what inspired you to do that?
Yeah, so I started writing as an author in 2004, and I started writing law journals, law review, peer review things. And so I stopped writing those about 5 years ago. And then 2 years ago, I wrote Don't Bet the Farm on Medicaid, which is
Hmm.
just a short booklet per se.
Hmm.
And then I started writing the white paper for systematic land theft in 2007.
Hmm.
Yep, there it is. And
Cool.
then
It's like a
I,
textbook. You even have like questions at the each in the chapter and case
yeah,
studies, and it's great.
right.
It is
Yeah.
amazing. Yes.
Oh, thanks.
Sorry.
So, yeah, I created a class actually from the white
Oh,
paper
okay.
and as an adjunct professor. And so that's why I just continued on in creating a textbook. And so it
Hmm.
also includes, separate from what's online, but a curriculum, also my old exam syllabus for professors that really want to delve into the topic and pick it up as a course to teach, whether it's property law at a law school or Black Studies program, or like at a land grant university like Arizona State or Penn State or Tuskegee. So yeah, so it's definitely an asset, hopefully.
Yeah, no, for
Yeah.
sure. Well, I mean, with all that you have done, I mean, also we mentioned you were on the USDA, in the Office of Civil Rights. You're a professor, you're an author, you're a speaker, you're a founder. You're changing lives, you're changing the world, and as an international, you also and tell everyone again where the services are internationally.
Yeah, so briefly, we did a one-time project in Haiti in 2015. And there we bought rice, beans, and plantains for students at a school in Northwest Haiti. And then,
Wow.
kind of on the past 2 years, we've been doing more international work. We've been supporting a girls' orphanage in Sierra Leone,
Okay.
and that's been since November of last year. And we provide money for them to purchase produce from a local farmer there. And then also, we just built a cold storage facility in Trinidad for farmers because the shelf life for the produce is like 2 or 3 days in Trinidad because it's so, sweltering hot and humid all year that
Right.
now they have a cold storage room
Mm-hmm.
where they can store their crops and still extend the shelf life and sell more crops. And then we also bought crops from the farmers that we've been working with there in May to give to the families that live in the mountains in Arima, Trinidad. And then we also have been supporting farmers in India, in South India, and in Calcutta because India has the highest suicide rate for small farmers. And so I definitely wanted to provide services to farmers in India. So we've been working there as well with another partner
That is
organization.
amazing. That is amazing,
Okay.
amazing, and really, having that orphanage and feeding them, because it's true. If you feed a child, you raise a community and helps them.
Yeah.
Because right, if they are not fed or nourished, they can't get a great education. They can't move on. They can't grow and give back to their community. And I think when we want to talk about, start with the most important thing, I think nourishment. And I think it's why it's so wonderful that you have this initiative both nationally and internationally, Jillian. I mean, yeah, and like I was saying, with all that you've done with your speaking and writing and teaching and and all the humanitarian work, I always like to ask, how do you do it all? What resources or tips or anything that you do to keep you on track to design your life so you don't feel like overwhelmed or overstressed with everything when you have such an important initiative to focus on?
Yeah, definitely get an assistant.
Okay. Yes.
'Cause I'm the type of person, I'll just do it myself. 'Cause
Uh-huh.
by the time I show her or him how to do it, I could do it myself. But I'm realizing that really isn't the best way. So yeah, definitely get an assistant, definitely utilize volunteers. But do remember that volunteers are not 1099 consultants and people's time is limited. So
Yeah.
definitely make sure that it's like a short-term assignment or, just be considerate of folks' time.
Okay.
And yeah, definitely hire consultants though. And the number one thing that I would advise someone to have right off is a CPA.
Hmm.
Definitely make sure that your books are always, up to date and on point. So
Yes. Well, that is great. That is great. Is there anything else you want? Well, I also like to know, like, what's next? I mean, anything coming on the horizon? I know already you're doing a billion thousand things, but
yeah,
what's next
yeah,
for
we
Jillian
have.
Aisha Esquire LLM?
Yeah, we have a bankruptcy book coming out.
Bankruptcy. Good. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
great.
chapter
Hmm.
12, bankruptcy. And so chapter 12, there's 5 different chapters, and chapter 12 is designated for farmers and fisheries. And so a lot of bankruptcy attorneys are just familiar with chapter 7s, which is just for consumer debt, so credit card and medical debt. And then chapter 13s, of course, which is to stop the foreclosure of your house, but 12s are for farmers. And so we partnered with Northeastern Law School in Boston in August and earlier this year. And I did the outline and got the folks for the students, the law students to interview. And then they wrote the book, which will be for sale at the end of the
Okay.
year, early 2021.
Oh, wow. Well, great, great. Well, I'll be looking for it. And I know everyone else will as we get this shared around the world. But yes, everyone can find you on JillianHighshaw.com
Yes,
for the services you provide, and also links over to the nonprofit of farms, which is 30,000acres.org, and on LinkedIn at Jillian Highshaw.
yes.
And go Highshaw. See, you knew I wasn't going to mess up the name because at least
No, no, no.
I
It's
call you
usually
Jillian Hishaw.
right. It's usually a different scenario, but
A little different. And then also on Twitter at J Highshaw ESQ. Right. And yeah,
Yep.
I invite everyone to not only visit the websites, but to also make a donation to farms. You can see all the work that that she's doing, that the organization is doing, and all the lives are impacted because our farmers are feeding our children and our families, and we need to support them. And we need to be able, or they need to be able to protect their land ownership and their farms for their family and legacies to come. So thank you so much. If anyone in the comments has a question, this is a great time to put it in. And also, again, so Don't Bet the Farm on Medicaid is the latest editions on your website. The
Yes, the third
information,
edition.
the third
And it
edition.
includes 17 states, so it
Mhm.
does include the four corner states. I just added Arizona, Utah, Colorado, and New Mexico.
Uh-huh.
But it's 17 states total. And I just give just short advice about lien exemptions. Like
Hmm.
if you live in Florida, you can exempt up to 160 acres plus your home from a lien. So, and that's any lien. So, Florida is definitely a great place to be. So yeah, certain states have different lien exemptions. So,
Hmm. And even educating them on, if you know that you're going to be needing to sell the farm and or how you can help reduce your capital gains by donating to nonprofit. Did I say that
yes,
right?
exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. You sound like a lawyer. Yeah,
Oh, there you
exactly.
go. I do learn this about Keith.
Yeah, exactly. You could donate it to a
Okay.
land. Yeah,
Well, good. Yeah.
exactly.
So, yeah, if anyone, I mean, if you're not a farmer, of course, if you know, please share this information. And then systemic land theft. And if you get the bundle, portions go to the nonprofit, and it's on jillianhighshaw.com. And I think that's great. Anything else you want to touch on before we sign off?
No, no, just definitely buy assets.
Okay.
So definitely buy assets because that that can be passed down. Even if it's a house or a house with a few acres around it, it's so
Mhm.
important to buy assets, especially if you have kids. So
Yeah. And start early, right? And so many
yeah,
young folk are not
exactly.
buying, right?
Yeah,
They're not
yeah,
driving their car. They're not,
exactly,
but young
exactly.
adults are, yeah, they're not buying. They're renting, and they're just, nomading around the world.
Exactly.
But yeah, after
So
learning about you own the space above your land, you might want to look into that.
yes, yes,
Yes, because you won't
exactly.
be broke if you own land. Well, thank you so much. And I want
You're
to thank everyone
welcome.
for joining us. And please, yes, check out the website, and also for those that may know someone, or if you're interested in dentistry, also to check out Diversity in Dentistry Mentorships. We want to
And
increase the
buy
percent.
the book. Buy the book.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Yes, yes. Don't forget to buy it. Don't forget to buy the book as well.
Oh, thank you.
Cavity
That
Free
is
Kids.
a cavity-free kiss. You just like
Yes,
a family member, just like a cousin. But
buy her
yes,
book.
something we both celebrated that we published this year in the middle
Yes.
of a pandemic. So we can do that. You can do it. So yes, whatever your dreams are, we know that you can achieve them. Just design your life, set your priorities, set your goals, know when you need to say no, know when you need to say yes, and you too can change the world. So thank you again. Thank you, everyone. We are so great to see you. I wish we could see each other more.
I know. Thank you so much for having me again.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much, and keep making a difference.
I
Thank you so
will.
much, guys. Until next time,
Thank
smile
you.
always.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.